In this video, we'll show you how to use Adobe Substance 3D Sampler to create realistic 3D materials of woven, embroidered, and combined patches, starting from vector illustrations created in Adobe Illustrator. You can use these materials to texture objects in Substance 3D Painter, for export to fashion design software, or to simply preview designs before they are manufactured. We'll start from Illustrator. If you haven't created a design yourself, you can download the files used in this video. In Illustrator, we've made sure to use square proportions at 1000 by 1000 points. We usually use up to 5 colors, but you can go up to 10 different colors in Sampler. We've also made sure the background is transparent. Then, use File, Export, Export for Screens to export as PNG. Set up a path and choose a scale. In this case, a 4 times upscale gives us a 4K result. With the artboards exported, we can get started in Substance 3D Sampler. Click Create New to start a new project. We'll select the flame color file, drag it into Sampler, and drop it on the layer stack. You'll see the Material Creation Template window appear. We're going to ignore Sampler's suggestion to use bitmap to material, and instead choose Use as Bitmap. This creates a base material layer with your image on top. That doesn't do anything, so let's start with turning this into an embroidered patch. In the bottom left, you can see the Assets panel. It shows you materials and filters available for use. Click the search field and type Embroider. You'll see the embroidery filter appear. Grab it and drag it to the top of your layer stack. Embroider is not a light filter. It might take a while to calculate. If it's slow for you, set the resolution to 1024 with the drop down above the 3D view. You can switch or export at 4K later. After some calculations, you should see results show up. You might want to modify the mesh shown in the 3D view. Click the Viewer Settings button in the bottom left. Scroll down to the meshes. A regular plane works well, but the cube gives you a better idea of how light reacts with the patch. If the repeated tiling bothers you, you can change the Texture Scale setting above the mesh. Just set both U and V settings to 1 to disable the tiling. Now we can jump into the Embroider filter. One of the most important settings is the color count. It sets the maximum number of color zones to extract from your illustration. Each zone will be filled with stitches individually. It defaults to 5, which happens to be the exact number we need. You'll have to adjust this if you bring in more colors. The settings below the color count let you adjust the look of the stitches. You can set global embroidery scale, tweak individual thread scale, change the distance of the 3D thickness effect, and change the imperfections in stitch directions. Things get more interesting once you get to the individual color settings. These can be a bit tricky at first. Because of the automatic color recognition, you don't know which number matches with what color. They're ordered by surface area, but even that can be hard to tell. The best way to find out is to open one up and change a setting drastically, like setting the height position to 1. You'll see which color zone reacts. Another interesting setting is the orientation mode. Automatic tries to figure out a direction based on the shape. It works best for complex shapes and thin edges or text. Circular or square work best for big contiguous fields like our red and orange areas. If you want to go even further, look at the input fields below the embroidery filter in the layer stack. Each of these fields matches a color zone, and you can override that material completely. If you close the viewer settings and clear your previous search, you can drag a material from the Assets panel into a slot. Try it with the tweed or twill fabric materials. You notice that the color gets replaced by the material's color. We can fix this. In the embroidery filter properties, there's the Color Mode dropdown. Choose Color Image to replace the material color with the one from our illustration. You can even use custom materials here. We've included the woven pattern material along with the files, but you can also find that one and others for free on Substance 3D Community Assets. If you're looking for even more high-quality fabrics, you can use your credits to download them from the Substance 3D Assets website. To bring a material in, first click the back arrow in the Assets panel. Then go into Your Assets. Drag and drop the woven pattern SBSAR file into the Assets panel. Now you can use it just like any other material. Let's use it in a few areas. Make sure to delete the old material first before you drop a new one in. Once a new material is in, click on it to change settings for just that material. Try playing with the pattern type and scale to find what works. When you're happy with this material, you can right-click it to rename it. Hit Enter to confirm. Let's try some advanced patches. This time, I want to create a woven patch that has some embroidery on some areas as well. To do this, we have to split our patch in Illustrator. The woven parts go on a separate artboard, and so do the embroidered parts. Easiest is to duplicate the entire artboard and then delete specific parts on each depending on the technique. When working with two techniques, we'll need to first create a material for each technique. So click the plus and add a new material. Then drag and drop your rad woven illustration in and use it as a bitmap. Just like embroidery, there's a weave filter that you can add. So weave is similar to embroidery. It also identifies color zones automatically. You can use the same trick to figure out what number is which color. Just change a parameter and see what color responds. Weave has a few key parameters. Most important are the area size and the density of stitches. The area size represents the physical length of your artboard in Illustrator. Density is how many stitches you'll get per centimeter. Together, they determine the scale of the stitches. For each color, there are a number of settings to adjust, like border size that stretches stitches on the edges, or height position to have thicker weaves. Once you're ready tweaking the weave, we can move to our second part. Create another new material through the plus button. Again, we'll drop in an image, this time the rad embroider file. Once imported as image, we add the embroider filter on top. We can tweak the settings of the embroider a bit more. Before we continue, it's best to now name each material by right-clicking and choosing Rename. This helps keep things organized and easy to use. I'll just name the materials after our files, so rad weave and rad embroider. Once renamed, I'll create our final material and name it rad combined. Then make sure this third material is opened. All that's left is to drag our two materials in by order of construction. The weave goes at the bottom, so I drag the rad weave material in first. Any material you create can be reused as another layer like this. Then I'll do the same with rad embroider and place it on top of the rad weave in the layer stack. If you place two materials on top of each other like this, they are blended with a specific technique. Above the layer stack, the technique of the current blend is shown in a drop-down. We're fine with height blend, so we'll leave it like this. Next to the layer thumbnail, there's an icon for the blending. If you click it, you can change blending parameters. For height blend, offset and contrast are most important. We'll move the contrast to maximum. Then we change the offset until the weave just starts to fade, then back it off a little bit. This combines the two materials like it would in real life. Once the materials are blended, you can adjust the separate weave and embroider materials, but if you go back to the combined material, you'll have to click the Update All Now message at the top of the layer stack to propagate your changes. With that, our embroidered and woven patch is done. To use our material elsewhere, we use this Share button in the top right corner. This patch would work well in Substance 3D Painter, so we can use the Send To functionality to send it over. Inside Painter, it can then be used as a decal by dragging and dropping it onto your mesh using Alt plus the left mouse button. For a decal, you do have to open up the Channels mapping rollout and set the Mask dropdown to use the opacity map. If you want to use the patch in another application, use the same Share button in Sampler, but click Export As. Make sure you've named it, choose a path, and change the format to SBSAR. The SBSAR format is supported in applications like vStitcher or Clo, and you can use it to place graphics on your designs. That's all there is to it. Good luck creating your own designs.